Welcome back to Just Jocelyn and my guest, Laurie Ortolano. I hope you're all very familiar with her. She's done several shows with me. She's done other podcasts. And why? Because she's a patriot. Why? Because she's a taxpayer. Why? Because she's a citizen. And she cares deeply what's going on in this city, in this state, and in this country. And we need more Lauries. We really do. And it doesn't mean that we need everybody rolling into court and suing this person. This is not what it's about. This is asking for relief. This is asking for policy development. This is asking for proper following of the New Hampshire Constitution. The allowance and the respect to the taxpayers who are questioning, and rightly so, their select people, their aldermen, their mayor, anybody in there. Because bottom line is, whether you believe it or not, because it's an inconvenient truth, they all work for us. Your tax money pays their salary. Let's keep it simple. Let's not go into corporations. That's what happens. We elect them, but somehow along the line, they're appointing this one and that one, not chosen by us. And they're going off and making all sorts of little decisions and rules and regulations and then telling us it's law. You will follow it. I'm the boss. Well, it's not actually the truth, and they've gotten away with it for a very long time. And this is what we are seeing across the country. This is what we are seeing. There's 7 or 8 pro se litigants that I know of in this state, and we all have cases. We're not asking for $1 million. We're not asking for $2 million. We're asking that the law and the Constitution be followed. Period. End of conversation. We don't want your opinion. We don't want to know how you feel. Follow the law. And we need our 3 branches of government to stay separate and do their job. So after that little rant, you mentioned Attorney Steve Bolton as being one of the people that you deposed in May. So I've met him. I've had to deal with him. It was not a pleasant experience. He is not, and this is my personal opinion and what I actually had happened to me. He's very rude. He was extremely rude to me. He's been very rude to other people, but I can only speak to what was said and done to me. And that is not anybody I would have any respect for. And it leads me to the question, who is he really? Because I understand he was Mayor Donchess's personal attorney, just as Formel was Chris Sununu's personal attorney and is now the AG.
I believe you're correct. I'm of the same assumption that he was and has served as the mayor's personal attorney. And he has been tied to the mayor. He's been involved with city government for a long time. When the mayor was mayor back in the 80s, I think it was around 82 to, or 84 to 92, Steve Bolton was deputy counsel. And then Steve Bolton was on the Board of Aldermen for a while. And then Steve Bolton has been back with the mayor for 9 years when he was reelected. They've known each other and been together for, I think, over 40 years.
That's a very long time.
A lot of history there. They're, thick as thieves in their own way of what they do and how they do it. They are very, they play very distinct roles, I think. The mayor shifts everything to Attorney Bolton.
Well, it seems to me that he's running interference. And when he, what is his obligation to the city council? To me, when I watch, it looks to me like the board members are afraid that there's not an educational, respectful, professional relationship going on. You can see almost visible blows when he's talking to them.
That is true. There are definitely, I've had communications. I have seen aldermen walk out of the chamber and literally say to me, "He frightened me tonight." That has absolutely been said to me. And I know why, because he became very aggressive, very angry. When you cross him, he becomes very vocal.
Oh,
And
he's vindictive and vehement and
he's tough.
Poisonous.
And he's very difficult. And so, and if he's crossed in the chamber, all rules of decorum go out the window. He will interrupt, he will shout out, he will take control, he will set somebody straight. And what I see in the chamber a lot of times, I mean, a good corporation counsel is there to give advice to the board during public meetings where that advice is public, to guide them when they have questions and they want to verify the legality of something, or if they're proceeding properly, even in a Roberts Rules format.
Okay.
You know, and that is a very important role for corporation counsel to play in these public meetings that can last 3 hours
But I
with a
don't
lot of
think
legislation.
we're seeing that.
We're not. I see so often people fearful of asking him questions, and if they ask him a question, they're bending over backwards to be complimentary out of concern that they don't want to make him angry.
Correct.
You can
That they don't
see
want the
this.
repercussion.
They don't want the blowback.
Yep.
So they're...
Which again, to repeat myself, they work for us. He works for us. He doesn't work for the mayor.
No.
And the mayor doesn't, he answers to us. But again, we're not seeing this. We're seeing this little private corporation tete-a-tetes going on at the expense of everybody else.
Definitely.
An agenda that has nothing to do with we the people.
And even all of this right to know litigation that's gone on in Nashua, it's really been driven by the personal animus and vindictiveness of the mayor and Steve Bolton in the legal office. It has not been something that they've tried to resolve to, for the greater good of the city. And, we got into this whole policy discussion, and policy serves a purpose, and written policy is particularly important. But, two primary purposes is safety. You write a lot of policy around safety issues.
Correct.
And liability.
Yep.
And what we're talking about here are liability issues in the city when the city's getting sued over different issues. And back on March 26th, they did a special meeting before the Board of Aldermen meeting for 25 minutes and put up slides of all the damage Laurie Ortolano has done to the city.
Isn't that slander?
Well, it wasn't pleasant, I'll tell you, and it wasn't really necessary. So what they wanted to show is how unsuccessful I've been. And they said, so, and they do their own math, and they wanted to show what they're spending for outside legal counsel. I didn't even know this was happening. I happened to bring up the agenda at home eating dinner, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a Laurie Ortolano bashing. I better get out there. Wolfed on my food, and I go out. Sure enough, 26 minutes with Director Cummings, Mayor Donchis, Steve Bolton, and Celia Leonard going over Laurie Ortolano's win and loss rate. And they put up a table, and they said, Mrs. Ortolano has only won 5% of her claim. 5 claims out of 65. So the city is batting 92%, and Mrs. Ortolano is batting 8. Okay, so now I can't really speak to that. I don't feel the way it's represented is proper, but what can I do? It's a public meeting, and there's no public comment at a special meeting.
Oh, correct. Well, usually it is at the beginning before they've told you what they're going to be
But
talking
they didn't even
about.
allow it for this one at all.
Oh, really?
Nothing, because it was a
Is there
special
a written
meeting.
policy on that?
Yeah, first they've changed it. It's not written. It's
How did I
unwritten.
know?
Laurie Wilshire has decided for special meetings, there's no public comment. For regular meetings, there is. So,
Are you hearing this, public?
So this was a special meeting, and it was special because it was a lot.
Because it was a
lot of talk
bashing
about me. And so,
But let me just, back up, not just coming into this from the outside and recently. They had to hire counsel because they're breaking the law.
Exactly.
Because they have no policy, because they have nothing written, and they're pulling it out of someplace in their body, and I'm not going to be rude, and then saying, it's so, and she's costing us a lot of money, when in fact you're informing the public and the taxpayers that they're screwing around and using millions of dollars and skirting the law.
right. And they had a graph that was super interesting.
It's your fault, but they caused it. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's my fault. Where's their little stinking graph? Oh, here it is.
Oh, okay.
It shows outside litigation. You can see in 2020, hardly used at all. 2020, a little, and then boom, it just shoots up. And they're using a lot of outside legal counsel now. Well, in 2020, our corporation counsel suffered a major medical health issue, which I don't need to necessarily disclose, but it changed his ability to perform his duties. And they did not replace him. They kept him there. So here you have somebody who has some infirmity issues, who can't do his job anymore the way he can. So the reason outside counsel has spiked
is because he can't do his job.
He can't do his job. And we're paying him the $150,000 a year to be there, but we need to hire outside counsel to take over because he's not functioning at the level he needs to.
Gee, it seems to me that maybe they should replace him or get an attorney that can actually deal with the issues that are at hand right now in Nashua.
Yes, I know.
Well, what would I know?
And so then they show, this was the best part, the lawsuit that I just came out of court with, 00309. Of all the costs, like they have all these little things racked out. They have, it's $6,000 for this one and $2,000 for that one. This one that was $20,000 wasn't mine. Then there's one that had to do with Temple Street. That's not mine for $32,000. There's a few in here that definitely are not mine. Then there's one that was dismissed. I dismissed it. That was $1,200. Okay. But the big issue here was the right to know case on the Art Center. And guess how much they spent for outside counsel as of March?
Let me guess. $180,000.
$400,000. $400,000, and that's before another 3-day trial. This thing will be up at, I'm guessing, $550,000. Over $500,000 to pay 3 outside lawyers to come in and address a right to know lawsuit that involved the proper noticing of meetings and minutes.
Of which they never wrote the minutes, never posted them. About the multi-millions they were spending.
All of this had to do with records in the Economic Development Office.
Records again.
Okay? And first of all, when I filed this, and it all had to do with the work in Director Cummings' office, and I said, this guy doesn't document, doesn't notice, doesn't communicate. His door is locked. He's got all kinds of public records in his office, and the door has a lock on it. I've never seen it open. And don't bother knocking on it. It won't open.
But aren't those documents public?
They are. And they should be available to the public during normal business hours. That's part of the law. But they're not. So that's what intrigued me. And the downtown barriers was in there. There were issues with how they voted on those barriers that I was challenging. These tax incremental financing districts and their administrative boards I was concerned about. How we're pulling money out of those and what kind of financial reports are being done. And of course, all of the financing and the construction of the Art Center became a big, question mark mystery. So I dug into there. And what I really didn't realize, but have learned more recently, before Mayor Donchis started, the prior mayor, economic development was under the Community Development Office. So in City Hall, we have a Community Development Office. It's a total open door. Anyone can walk in. You get your building permits there. The zoning board is in there, the planning board, Conservation Commission, and Economic Development was there.
Okay.
The Economic Development Office had one guy in it. He was an advisory position. He really went out and spoke to businesses to help encourage economic development of the city. You might want to come in here and start your business or get a developer to do a residential development for us. It was a lot of marketing.
A lot of marketing and develop the tax base so they could have more money.
Exactly. And it was a one-man band.
Yep.
Well, when Mayor Donchis came in 2016, he moved economic development out of community development, and he put it in the office right next to his office with a adjoining door. And it became part of his office. And he increased the staff a little bit. He assigned some people to it, and he began running what I call dark projects out of that office. So there are 12 or so projects running out of economic development that do not have board liaisons on them, are really never reviewed periodically by the board. Director Cummings makes all the decisions on those. All money spent is God knows where it's coming from and how you track it. Some of the bigger projects, there's the Riverfront project. They're developing a walkway down there. They bonded $21 million for that at the very end of 2020, I think. They have spent it all. I'm pretty much certain they're now
$21 million.
Yes,
for a walkway.
Yeah, yes, and I'm going to tell you this thing's going to go up to closer probably to 35, I think. they're not even
Is it
close.
lined in gold?
No.
Are there sprinklers?
No,
I mean,
but
do
what-
I get like free iced coffee when I walk down it?
I don't know what you're going to get. You're going to hope you don't end up in the river. So what's happened though is the cost of all of these construction projects has exploded. It really has with the inflation costs and building
Right,
materials and all
interest
that.
rates, et cetera.
It's really gone up.
But all those projects, aren't those supposed to be voted on by the taxpayers?
They
Aren't
get
those supposed to be?
developed. They're under development in the office next to Mayor Donchis, and they're
Developed.
and they're fueled with seed money. And then once they are like the riverfront project or river walk project, once that was bonded, now I would say that would become more of a public project. You'd have some public meetings. A board liaison would be assigned to help track the money and all. But no, if it's coming from economic development, there's nobody assigned. These are dark projects.
But they're doing projects and then saying, you're going to pay for it, you're going to pay for it, I'm
Absolutely.
going to pay for it. Okay, so I'm not wrong. So
No.
I'm just breaking it down, people, because,
So I really feel that what happened is when I poked and knocked on that door and said, I'm concerned about these little areas.
you opened up a
That's how
hornet's
I
nest.
ended up with 5 attorneys sitting on the other side of the table. Because the mayor did not want his economic development plans and his
Revealed, talked
his
about,
secret projects or his cloistered projects, his personally controlled projects on the public table.
My question would be, by what authority? This is Matthew 23. By what authority does he have the right to do special projects and decide what is going to happen in a city
Right.
of people that pay taxes? And he's just going, yep, we're going to spend this. Your tax is going to go up this much. I'm going to do this. What authority does he have? He doesn't, that I can tell.
Really, he doesn't. And what's happened is the board has let this happen. Again, this is a board that's not functioning as a representative body that is elected to be our voices.
Right, to protect you,
And look
work
at
for
us
you.
as their constituents. They are serving the interests of the mayor, and they're letting the mayor run the office this way because this is the way the mayor wants to run the office. So, and what was so interesting when I lost this lawsuit we talked about prior,
I'm not going to say you lost it.
I didn't.
You didn't lose it. They got a big punch in the nose.
And they took it as a thank you.
Yes.
They took it as a kiss. That to them was a kiss.
That should be published everywhere. What that judge wrote
yeah.
is on fire.
Right. And the city, Steve Bolton said nothing the judge wrote there was of any merit. The mayor, when questioned on the sentences, said the judge doesn't understand the right to know law.
So correct me if I'm wrong, and I have many people that would tell me if I was not understanding this correctly or misspeaking, but since when does an attorney admonish any judge? I know, they're not above, but you don't do stuff like that and you don't say it out loud. So how is this Steve Bolton guy getting away with bad-mouthing judges and bad-mouthing what he's being told to do and ignoring it?
Well, he did it in a deposition under oath, so he expressed his true opinions, and to some extent he didn't. What they did is just threw the judge's order in the trash and pretended and said it's a win. We won. We don't care. When my attorney questioned him and Mr. Bolton said, I disagree with all this stuff the judge wrote. My attorney said, did you file a motion for reconsideration to ask him to strike the record? And he said, no, we won. Why would I bother? But what was very interesting is on the Arts Center lawsuit, one of them that got dismissed, where the judge wrote a very zesty footnote telling them they might have violated the Constitution. The city wrote, even though the city
Motion
got
to
it dismissed, they wrote a motion to reconsider the footnote saying, please strike that footnote. We don't like it. So a footnote that potentially had them called out for violating the Constitution on the construction of an art center scared them. But footnotes that involved the constitutional rights of their citizens, they could care less about.
That speaks volumes.
It does.
That absolutely speaks volumes.
They
and the
could
citizens
care
of
less.
Nashua, beware.
Right.
What is going on? That's what they do. Their business. They're this. No. This is your money. This is your city. They work for you. And it makes me say, so, hello, what's going on in the schools?
Right.
Which we won't go down that path yet. What's going on in elections? what's going on in virtually everything. What else are they hiding? What else are they, who else is rubber stamping everything
Right.
Mayor Donches wants?
Right. And my time in this judicial legal arena has been really difficult. It's not an evolving process. It's more of a devolving process as you go through it. It really is. And it's sad to say that because I was never really a critic of that system. I didn't know enough about it. I wasn't.
Right.
Now I'm pretty down on it when it comes to ethics and honor and morals. I think it needs a big overhaul in this state. And my concern is that there's not enough checks and balances in the system. When I stumbled into all of this art center stuff, I'm a pro se litigant. It's complex. There was 6,000 pages of closing binder documents, 20,000 emails to go through. You're swimming in information. You're putting this puzzle together. And when it came time to realize that there were some really inappropriate things done that I felt required a state agency to look at, reaching out to all of those state agencies, they all ignored it. Yep. And so I think this state needs to develop. First of all, I think it might need a municipal division up at the Attorney General's office. Some people have said to me, we don't need a municipal office. Well, what do people in municipalities do when they bring something up there? They go to the public integrity unit, but the public integrity unit says, oh, we don't deal with municipal work.
Correct. There's a lot of passing the buck up there. We don't do that. We don't do this. I've dealt with it multiple times, and it's a lot of rubber stamping, and it's a lot of just shoving it back into the closet.
And also, it's all about the person you get. Some of these people are not trained to really address the type of legal issues you're putting into there, and they just turn around and go, I'm just going to tell her to go somewhere else. And so you got to be lucky. You got to be lucky. You got to be there at the right time, in the right place.
Well, it shouldn't be about luck.
No.
It should be about law and order, the Constitution as it's written, as it's presented, because we all know if the Constitution has not been amended, and we didn't vote on it, it stands as it was written.
Exactly.
And if it was 1603, and I know it was written after that, but if it was, 1781, if it was 1802, and it hasn't been amended,
it's there.
It stands
the document
as written. And we've got people here just acting like it's toilet paper, and that's really disgusting.
And then so the AG's office, when we sent it up to them, they blew it off for like 3 months. They followed up 4 months later, maybe 5 months later. They said, oh, we decided a couple months ago it's got to go to the county attorney. I reach out to the county attorney. He's got it. I put him on the email chain where they made that decision. He's got it. A month later, the woman he assigns it to says, we don't have a forensic accountant down here to do this kind of work. Now, she doesn't say, therefore, we're going to send it back to the AGs. Therefore, we're not going to do it. All she announces is we don't have a forensic accountant on staff. Okay. So I get back to her and I said, and I said, would it be possible in the next month to meet? You pick the time. Doesn't have to be right away. Consider the next month for myself and my friend. Never heard from them. And my sense is they're not doing anything with it. Sent it to the FBI. Of course, the FBI would be quiet if they were doing anything anyway. But there's no indication that anything is happening because no state agency would grab it. So I feel like if we really don't have forensic accountants and we really are not staffed for this, then these municipalities that choose to go off the rails with 30, 40, 50, $100 million of our money are free to do it, and there is no accounting for it
and
at all.
There's no way to stop them.
And I will tell you, Nashua's mayor, his train left the station a long time ago. He's into these public-private partnerships now. He believes this is the way it should be done. He is not going to comply with any kind of law or disclosure on these things. He's going full steam ahead, and I don't see a way to stop it.
It's up to we the people. We need to come together, and we need to support people like you, people like Paula, and when they're questioning their government, which they have the full right to do.
Yeah.
People need to stop judging you, judging her, judging us, and saying you're wasting our money. No. Let's back up this crazy train and look at the millions that are disappearing, the millions that are being spent. and hundreds of millions. And they are accountable to us. Oh my goodness. Well, keep us
There's always more to
up
talk
on this.
about.
There's always more to talk about. And share this program around. Go back and find previous ones that we've done with Laurie and Wayne and Paula and Karen Testerman, because we're all pro se. We are not attorneys. We don't even play one on television. So we're doing where law and order is taking us, where God tells us follow that law. Whether you believe in it or not, that's what our Constitution and this United States is based on. And it's never changed. It's always been a Christian nation, and we always follow those laws. So thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for
a
having
bright,
me.
bright light and keeping us up to date and fighting. And I stand with you, and anytime, you've got an hour here with me.
Perfect. I'll be
Excellent.
back. I love it. Thank
Good.
you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy. And, there's never anything that's not important enough for you to pay attention to. We all need to pay attention because it's our lives, our money, our children, and our city. Have a great day.